We are. Now we're live. Okay, cool. You guys missed it. I started talking. I got very, very excited. I was starting to share, and then I realized I had not hit the go live button. So let's see here. Just going to make sure we have this link sent out here. The main chat. Let's see here. We are live. Cool. I'm gonna drop this in the main Secret Network chat. Okay, looks like Austin already put in there. So today we're going to be talking about synthetic assets. And before we talk about the flaws of the synthetic assets industry, and before we answer any of the Q&A, I want to briefly talk about Masari. Masari was a conference I went to in New York from Sunday to Wednesday. We had the biggest names present there. We had the chain links of the world, the harmonies of the world. It was, how many business cards did we get here? I mean, this was just from like 1 or 2 hours. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was at the Secret Network booth talking to hundreds of people about Secret Network. Some of my biggest takeaways are that people don't know about Secret Network. A lot of people we talked to were like, what is this? And we're like, oh, we're a layer 1 Cosmos chain. And they're like, wait, you're in Cosmos? People don't even know that like we're part of the Cosmos universe. So that was kind of a big wake-up call. We got to evangelize Secret Network to hundreds of people. The biggest trends out there right now, I think I tweeted about this, are the inner blockchain. The connected blockchain narrative is massive right now. Like, everyone you talk to is like, how can we connect? Like, what can we do to connect our blockchains? How can we get our applications to talk to each other? This was a narrative that didn't really exist a year ago because it wasn't really possible a year ago. The second narrative is the data rollup narrative, which I think is one that's just starting to emerge. The scalability problem of ledger sizes, the scalability problems of transactions, all of these things have to be solved in the long run, and there's like trade-offs with how you go about solving it. So we're starting to see a little bit more traction on this front. Layer 2s are their own interesting problems. So I'm curious how data rollups evolve in relation to layer 1s versus layer 2s that solve the scalability problem. And the third narrative I saw at Masari was shared security. So Polkadot is really positioned uniquely with the shared security native, or shared security model, I should say. And I'm keeping my eye on that narrative. But privacy as a narrative is something that has not gone into full effect yet. But I kid you not, guys, every single person that I talk to about Secret Network, privacy for DeFi, every single person gets it. There's not a single person, no matter how ingrained in their own ecosystem, there's not a single person that doesn't get that on-chain privacy for DeFi is 100% required for the next layer of growth. And that's what really stuck out to me. What stuck out to me is that Shade Protocol and Secret Network are in the right place at the right time for the next narrative, for the next leg up. And I talked to institutional investors, I talked to accredited investors, I talked to plenty of people that have a significant amount of wealth that were like, wow, I need to look into Secret Network, because if this privacy and DeFi narrative is true, then Secret Network is onto something big that no one else can match. And that's a really big deal. So anyways, that's just like the brief rundown of Masari. I have to say it was quite humbling to be able to talk with Sunny Arwal. I even had a brief conversation with Do Kwon. So it really is like these crypto people in the Cosmos universe. Like, they're just people. That was maybe another takeaway. I think a lot of these entities out there kind of had put them up on a pedestal in my mind in some capacity. And like, once you meet these people, they're super, super nice. people. They really want to push the Cosmos ecosystem forward together. And it's kind of like you can be innovative in this space. You don't have to be some like 5,000 IQ person to be able to think hard about the problems and think about what you can do to improve them. So I'm going to shift over here to synthetic assets. I guess we can talk very briefly about, let's see, we have a couple of questions here. So we have some questions about ICO, airdrop details, when airdrop for Atom stakers. So we've been getting a lot of these questions. So here's what I'll say today. So from what I've been told, the snapshot and airdrop script has been completed by one of the core contributors. So that means that when snapshot is announced, that things are good to go. That is to say, it's no longer a like if it's ready to go. It's a matter of like when things locked in and get started, from what I hear. So I can't give specific dates yet, but that's my best update I can give the community right now, is that the script and the formula for all of that, it sounds like from the core contributors, is ready to go. So hopefully you guys are okay with that as an answer. I know people always want more and more details, but that's the best I can offer up on September 25th on this Saturday morning. So I want to now shift to talking about synthetic assets, and I'm actually going to share my screen on this one, because what we've come up with for synthetics, I fundamentally believe is gonna overhaul the entire synthetics industry, which was a very bold claim. So let's see if I can back it up here. Let's see. Okay. Hooray. All right, guys. I can no longer see chat. I only have this window pulled up. So this is the fundamental problem in the synthetics asset industry. So you have two types of individuals. You have I'll start with the protocol. So synthetics and Mirror, their whole claim to fame is you put up leverage, you put up collateral, and you're able to mint out a synthetic asset. You can then go do whatever you want with that synthetic asset. And we know that synthetic asset is valuable because there's collateral behind it. When the price of your underlying collateral that's backing it reduces, then your underlying collateral gets liquidated, right? This is needed in order to stabilize the system. It's needed in order to guarantee the stability of the synthetic assets that are minted. And Mirror is a $500 million protocol. Synthetics on Ethereum was the first to do it. They're a $1 billion protocol. They've really trailblazed. They've trailblazed on the synthetics front. It means we can have digital tokens that are representative of something in the real world. And we do this with oracles. We do this with pulling off-chain data on-chain. We do this by looking at exchanges with the smart contracts. And there's two risk profiles that exist. So the first risk profile is something I call CDP and LP, which is simply put, CDP stands for a collateralized debt position. This person locks up collateral, they mint out the synthetic, and then they LP the synthetic token. This is by far the most common thing to do with the minted LP. Some people will just lock up collateral, mint the synthetic, and wait for the upside. That's one way to do it. There's less upside involved in that, and typically the LP path is quite common. Now, CDP and LP, it has the following properties. You're at risk of liquidation, right? And you're in a leveraged position, and you have to maintain collateral and debt payments. Now, this is similar to MakerDAO, where as the price of your underlying collateral decreases, you have the option, in order to raise your liquidation price point, which is decreasing as the collateral decreases, you have the opportunity to add in collateral or make debt payments on that original collateral in order to increase or to decrease your liquidation price point. So someone that's in a collateralized position in the synthetics world always has to be watching out for the value of their underlying collateral. And this is super disruptive because imagine you've minted a synthetic, you're in a leveraged position, and you're also an LP provider. you have to be ready to pull your LP, give some of it back to the collateralized contract in order to avoid getting liquidated. So there's this, if you look on the right here, the CDP and LP, the set of steps involved with that, the amount of monitoring that has to be done to experience the upside of the leverage and to not fall prey to mass price liquidation moments is extremely difficult. And on top of all of the risk profile from CDP and LP, these positions are completely transparent. So the open market knows where all the liquidation price points are. I should probably add MakerDAO on here. MakerDAO mints out a stable coin instead of a synthetic asset, but it's the exact same mechanics. Like Mirror and Synthetics took MakerDAO's model and they generalized it to synthetics. So CDP and LP, lots and lots of risk. Now, the question is, why would you ever lock up collateral, mint out a synthetic, and LP it, and put yourself in a very risky scenario when you could instead simply do SAP and LP, which is you purchase the synthetic and then you liquidity provide it. Now think about this. SAP and LP has no risk of liquidation. You're not in a leverage position. You don't have to maintain collateral and debt positions. Now, anyone who's a liquidity provider is sensitive to system-wide price movements. People don't know it, but when you're a liquidity provider, you're technically in a short position because of impermanence loss. If me telling you being an LP means you're in a short position comes as a surprise to you, then you need to do a lot more research on liquidity providing. So please go check that out. I'm not going to take the time to explain why being an LP, it actually puts you in a short position. So to continue on, this is the biggest problem that Mirror and Synthetics face, is there is two different risk profiles. And because there's two different distinct risk profiles, you have something that's called a synthetic risk pricing premium. People will prefer to just simply buy the synthetic and liquidity provide it and earn that upside without being at risk of leverage versus being in the collateralized debt position. So when you subtract CDP and LP risk from the SAP and LP risk, you have this gap in risk. And this gap in risk is what creates a pricing premium. So most synthetics on Mirror and Synthetics, they're trading above the real world price. So what does this mean? This means, let's say you have synthetic Tesla on the open market and the real world is trading at $104. Because in this crypto world, because there's a disparity in risk profiles to create the synthetic, synthetic in the crypto world might trade at $120 with synthetic Tesla instead of $104. And this is a much worse end user experience because you're not actually buying it at the real world price. The whole point of synthetics is that as the real world asset experience is upside, simultaneously your crypto synthetic matches that token's upside. So this is a worse end user experience. And alternatively too, a user doesn't want to put themselves into a leveraged collateralized position to be able to own the synthetic asset. They just want to buy it on the secondary market. So the more users that just want to buy it on the secondary market versus putting themselves in a leveraged position, the greater the risk premium and therefore pricing premium is going to exist. And so this is where Shade Protocol begins to enter the picture because we had a very sudden realization. And what we realized is that synthetics don't need to be over collateralized. Users don't need to be in leverage positions and shouldn't have to be put into leverage positions in order to expand the underlying token supply of the synthetic. Just as Terra Luna realized that you shouldn't have to have this over-collateralized non-reflexive system to own a stable coin, simultaneously we realized the same exact thing for synthetics. So this is the summary. The architecture of collateralized, leverage-based synthetic markets is flawed. constantly trying to reconcile risk profile discrepancies and pricing premiums via long and short mechanisms, user experience suffers as a result. Now, this is something we've seen Mirror add in. They added in a shorting functionality. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to encourage people to short whenever there's a pricing premium. Now, the problem with this is, once again, we're relying on leverage to try to resolve fundamental risk profile discrepancies. Will it work? The jury's still out. My gut instinct, and from what I've seen so far, is the answer is no. It probably won't work over the long haul. We're now talking about like 3 or 4 different risk profiles that are trying to stabilize themselves. And if we've seen anything from MakerDAO, it's that if you're trying to have stable asset pricing over collateralized based systems with volatile collateral will not allow you to mint an asset that's going to stay stable. So that is to say, this series of statements stands true, even with shorting mechanisms introduced. Shade synthetics solve this by abstracting out the Terra Luna model to synthetics, completely avoiding the risk premium due to leverage no longer being the foundation of minting synthetics, resulting in better pricing and a better end user experience. So this is the end result of Shade synthetics versus synthetics, the Ethereum version, and Mirror. Everyone's got governance. Shade synthetics is algorithmic. There's stabilizer tokens, private by default, and there's no risk premium in pricing, and there's no leverage. Now, I want to put it out there that Shade Protocol will have a leverage product one day, 100%. But the foundation of synthetic assets should not be leverage. It just is bad, fundamental, long-term architecture. So how is this accomplished? The realization we had is the very model of Terra Luna that can keep something at $1 can also be used when trying to keep something at, say, $22. So in this model, you should recognize this. This is identical to Silk and Shade, right? So on the upper right-hand corner, we have synthetic Tesla, and on the bottom, we have something which we call stabilizer Tesla. These are 2 types of tokens. You'll notice that the entry token is Silk. So that DAO-based entry, that no slippage burn-based entry that we talked about with Silk and Shade, you can still do that, but in this system, it's done with Silk. Now think about this. If synthetic Tesla goes to $24, this isn't good, right? Like we want it back at $22. So what people will do is they will convert the stabilizer Tesla tokens into synthetic Tesla, and they will experience the upside of arbitrage profits. So 3 and 4 on the diagram. This is identical to Terra Luna. This is identical to Silk and Shade. It's identical open market mechanics. We simply apply it to a synthetic asset. And this ends up being a beautiful system because the minting contract, the target peg, is dynamic based off of a real world oracle. Now, to my knowledge, no one's done this before. If someone's done this before, please let me know now, because I don't want to falsely claim that we're the only ones doing this. But to my knowledge, no one has done synthetic tokens with a unique stabilizer token for each synthetic asset. And the idea behind this system is that if, let's say, we launch 50 synthetic pairs and 2 fail, those 2 pairs failing is a reflection of the market not caring about that specific synthetic asset pair. They didn't care about maintaining the stabilizer token, the synthetic, back and forth. They just didn't care, right? That's not an indictment of the mechanics. That is the open market choosing to not maintain a peg. As creators of these open market minting contracts, whoever that may be, like when you create these pairs, you don't get to forcefully tell the market like this pair must succeed. It's up to people arbitraging. It's up to demand for the synthetic asset. Just like the whole system with Silk and Shade is reliant on demand for Silk, just like the Terra USD model is also reliant on demand for Terra USD. And that's the theory here. This is an experiment that, to my knowledge, has never been done before. So this is the end architecture. We can have any synthetic token tracking any real-world price as long as there is a unique stabilizer attached to that token. So you could have synthetic gold with a gold stabilizer token. You could have synthetic Tesla with a Tesla stabilizer token. You could have a synthetic cryptocurrency index token with a stabilizer for that index token. And as people enter into synthetics and the stabilizer with Silk, the treasury grows. And you'll notice that this is a one-way street. This is a very intentional decision. And this is why having synthetics, because it's simply an abstraction of the existing model, is actually not that difficult to implement. This is like a recursive implementation of what's already been done. And so Synthesis benefits from all of this because it will continue to grow as people enter in. We've even seen Terra have the treasury grow from 3 and 4 on the diagram. So it's possible that we can implement Synthesis growing from 7 and 8, 3 and 4. All of these little components could feed back into the treasury. And probably what I'm most excited about is that if you are a shade staker, guess what you're going to receive? You're going to receive a stabilizer airdrop. Every time a new synthetic pair is launched, you have to establish the market capitalization of the respective stabilizer token. And it will be shade stakers that will be the one that receive the initial airdrop of stabilizers. And I want you to let that sink in for a moment. We're launching an entire market of stabilizer tokens and synthetics. This will probably be the largest crypto-based, localized arbitrage market that we've ever seen. And think about the beauty of this. We are putting the entire risk of the synthetics market. The risk exists within adoption and open market game theory mechanics, as opposed to putting the risk directly on the profiles of the multiple entities that have to partake to increase the circulation. The risk really lives outside of the system as opposed to inside of the system. And because of that distinct design choice, because of that choice, pricing for users is going to be so much simpler. If you have 100 Silk, you'll be able to get $100 worth of any synthetic, $100 worth of any respective stabilizer. And that synthetic, because of the open arbitrage mechanics, is going to be very closely tied to the real world price. We're no longer going to have $20, $30, $40 gaps in synthetic asset pricing because of risk profile discrepancies. So I want that to sink in. This is insane. And when we've shown people this diagram, when we've shown some of the big players in the space this diagram, people are getting very, very excited about this concept. Now, think about this. You have an entire market of synthetics and stabilizer tokens. Suddenly, you could have insurance products. Suddenly, you could have an entire arbitrage market. Suddenly, you could have an entire options contract market. The difference is everyone has said those things before about all of the other risk profile discrepancy collateralized based systems, but none of them had good architecture. None of them had, I should rephrase that. Collateralized based systems, it is a form of architecture that is effective, but this is an architecture that is sustainable into perpetuity from day one. It is. I think it's a better foundation. So that's the alpha today, guys. This is the reveal of synthetics, which is a hop, skip, and a jump away from implementation post Silk Shade. I'm now going to jump back to questions. I hope you enjoyed that little presentation on that front. Let's see here. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the synthetic assets? Let's see here. All right. I don't think we have any other guests hopping on right now. I'm checking with Dalton to see if he wants to hop on quick. I think we're good to go, though. Does anyone else have any other questions about synthetic assets? Because that was a pretty sizable reveal. I'll be sure referencing that one in the future. Doesn't look like we have any further questions right now. I'm going to give Telegram like 2-3 more minutes. No, I think we'll be good. All right, guys. Is there team information? That's a great question. Yes, there is team information. I would be happy to... Oh, now the questions are just like boom, 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 boom. That's funny. I always forget that there's like a stream delay, so my apologies in advance. So team information. I definitely can give you a list of people. I think actually let me pull up the grant. The grant's probably the best place to look at a good chunk of the team. Secret Foundation, Silk grant. Let me put this in. Let me just put the grant in chat. I don't think all the core contributors are listed in the grant, but there's a good chunk of the developers. So that's probably a good place to start. There's also a we're working on the full-blown landing page right now. So the landing page is getting very, very close to release on the official website, and we'll be able to advertise the website. But here is... That is the link to grant. Okay, cool. Oh, no, you're good. Did you already talk about the launch date? Oh, so Carmen, I wanted to give I gave a brief update on this earlier, and I'll just say it again. I believe it has been confirmed to me that the airdrop script and the airdrop equation has been finalized. Now, I can't give a date. I haven't been within the core contributors. That hasn't been like fully locked in yet. There was some final variables that came up attached to the equation that I think is gonna have us potentially push off like the initial announcement for those details until a little bit later into perpetuity. But as far as I know, the script is done and the equation is very, very, very close to done. So once those two things have been fully vetted, reviewed, whatever have you, then more details will come concerning snapshots and launch date. That's hilarious. Will there be airdrops for SCRT stakes? Victor, yes. I can say yes to that. That was confirmed via the Secret Network official Twitter account. There will be a shade airdrop for Atom stakers, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Is there going to be a weight secret versus Atom for the airdrop? Yes, there will be. From what I know, CNCW. That I think this is one of the remaining questions: is how much should the weight be with Atom versus Secret? You have to note too that differences in market capitalization can like affect the equation. So like even if it was like 50-50 between Secret Network and Atom, like one community is actually going to be receiving a disproportionate amount because you have like a larger ownership of market capitalization than like someone else does in the Atom community. It's more dispersed. Like Atom is essentially like more decentralized and more dispersed. So like per staker, there's like they're gonna receive less versus like someone in Secret Network. Just like as a function of being a smaller market capitalization. So that's just like an interesting thing that I believe like the teams had to bear in mind. But yeah, Carmen, just like answer your question. if I could really like simplify what I just showed about synthetics, it goes something like this. With this new synthetics model, we are going to completely overhaul and overthrow the current synthetics market. Like, because there's going to be a better end user experience and prices are going to be more accurate and more reflexive. And there's going to be an entire new arbitrage market that's born as a result of that. And on top of it all, we're not just innovating on the fundamental architecture of synthetics, there's also privacy attached to this entire market. That is what's so crazy. We're innovating on DeFi and we're adding in privacy, which is a tech stack thing that no one else can match. No one else can do that right now. So yeah, we're super pumped about synthetics. And my ultimate TLDR is that shade staking is going to be crazy awesome. So keep up the enthusiasm. I appreciate your support, TK Carmen. Just keep spreading the word, keep spreading the Telegram. Like, what we're doing here is going to change DeFi. And you guys are like front and center stage on seeing stuff that no one else has seen before. Like, we're doing stuff no one's done. Like, there's a lot of experimenting involved in all of this. And if that doesn't get you excited, then I don't know what will. So I'm trying to think of any other topics. I think we're good. We've gone 32 minutes. Does Shade Protocol anyway have relation to Base Protocol, team-wise or otherwise? No, we have no affiliation with Base Protocol in any capacity, Arvin. Just to briefly answer that question. Is there any other Telegram question? No, this week, no. Okay. All right, cool. We're going to round things out here, guys. This was September 25th, 2021. Developers continue to build. Capital continues to be interested. Secret Network continues its march to recognition within a space that lacks privacy. So how much secure will it be on the network? How much secure will it be on network? Vishal, could you rephrase that question? Let's see, Vishal, could you rephrase? How much secure will it be on network? How much secure will it be on network? I don't know your question, Vishal. If you want to rephrase that question for me, I'd be happy to answer it. Also, this upcoming Saturday, we're gonna begin to have some special guests. We're gonna give the community a chance to slowly but surely meet some of the core contributors of Shade Protocol. So we have the Daltons of the world, Jeremy's of the world. I would love to have Austin on. I actually have a sibling that also works on this project. We have Mohammed. It's supposed to be multi-party computation, but they realized it was not. What's my point of view? Yeah, sure. I have a point of view on this. Let me link you really quick. I wrote an entire article. On TEEs at crypto phrase. Yeah. So, okay, are you talking about the rollback, Vishal? And to answer your question, Crypto, here's my response to the concerns of like underlying secret and your protocol's also on the same network. Oh, okay. So you're talking. Okay, gotcha. So you're talking about the exploit on Secret Swap that happened last week. So I can briefly let me briefly answer this one. What happened about a week and a half ago was not fundamentally any sort of vulnerability in the layer 1 technology. There was no protocol level anything that happened. What happened about a week and a half ago was a vulnerability in a specific smart contract that was hosted on the network, right? So in my mind, the best way to avoid that is really, really good audits and really, really good developers building, right? So just because another smart contract exploit happened doesn't mean Shade Protocol automatically is going to have an exploit either, right? We are reaching out to audit firms to audit Shade Protocol. It's very important to us, the security of the protocol. But I think it's important to differentiate between an application layer exploit and a protocol level exploit. Secret network has never been exploited as a layer 1. And I don't foresee that happening ever. Like in terms of probability wise, like there is risk involved. Anyone that tells you there's no risk involved as it pertains to a privacy and security model is lying to you. There is risk. The question is, how much risk are we comfortable with in return for the flexibility of contract design, for the use cases and applications that are possible? Hardware level encryption gives the most possible smart contract design and flexibility out of any other protocol that exists. You'll never hear me make the claim that Secret Network has the best A to B transactional privacy. That's Monero and Zcash, hand down. Does Secret Network also give you transactional privacy? Yes, very much so. But the Moneros and the Zcashes of the world, their entire architecture and design is just about privacy from A to B. Secret Network has a much broader vision because of its goal of having computational privacy. So let's see here. Okay, so Vishal, hopefully that answered your question. Crypto for hopefully you understand kind of in my mind, the security models are a spectrum, and you always have to be aware of the trade-offs within that spectrum. I was actually in New York, and I've talked with multiple MPC related developers, people that have worked on MPC. I've talked with Guy Ziskin from Enigma. He spent 4 years of his life studying MPC. And the end result is the majority of people have realized that it's just not feasible in the current scenario. Most people that pull off MPC-based technology they're trading something off in order to make it possible, whether it be like how the inputs are structured, what parts MPC is actually computing across. So at the end of the day, hardware-based encryption is the most holistic way to build something that allows you to build applications. MPC could be something that's implemented in the future for Secret Network. I just don't see the technology being flexible enough to do that currently. So let's see here. Yeah, so the Acadia Group is one person that we're reaching out to. We're looking at one other potential firm as well, just to answer that question. Is Shade Protocol going to launch for the Supernova upgrade? So Victor, I can actually answer this one. Supernova is super important for Shade Protocol. I'll let you fill in the gaps, but like in terms of what I've heard from core contributors, like Supernova is a key component of some of the functionality that should be directly integrated into Shade Protocol. Could Synthesis, the Treasury, buy back Shade? Absolutely. Buybacks on the secondary market are possible. It's really simple. Like Synthesis as a governance contract, there's like two things. So first, someone would put the contract up for vote. They would say, hey, there's this contract that trades, let's say, secret ETH or secret on the Treasury for Shade. Okay, so this contract goes up. Everyone, all the Shade stakers, they vote and they say, oh yes, we would like to whitelist this contract. That contract it's now possible to send assets from the Treasury to that address. So then someone could put up a proposal that says we would like to send 30% of the secret on the Treasury to this address, and what that address does is when it receives the secret, it then buys Shade, and that Shade gets sent back to the Treasury. So it's actually quite trivial to add in that type of contract to Synthesis. Anything that a person can do, Synthesis as a Treasury can do. The complexity, though, is adding in those contract addresses, coding out the functionality for those contracts, and then also reaching a quorum as a collective decentralized community to pull off those types of actions. All right, guys, that's going to be all for today. I want to I think we had over 72 playbacks already. We had a bunch of different viewers. So thank you all for your participation. I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. I'm also going to be on a Cosmos and Privacy with Stablecoins panel on the 29th, I believe. So be sure to tune into that. Be sure to invite your friends to Shape Protocol. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's keep growing the movement. We're bringing privacy to DeFi, and we're having so much fun, guys, and you guys are a part of it. So hope you guys have a lovely Saturday.